Hello, dear listeners, and that sounds as if we have Kim Jong-un as the dear listener. We might.
Thank you, leader.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Does he like films as much as his dad did?
It doesn't matter because whatever he likes is okay with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Leader,
anyway, welcome.
Yes. May you live 100 years.
1,000.
1,000, yeah. Why not?
Yeah,
Carry on.
you'll have to cut out the pork pies, though. I think if he wants to get to 1,000.
Well, I'm sure he's got some transplant experiments going on already.
Right.
With all those starving citizens of his.
Yes, and I suppose he can reach out to China maybe and get some Uyghur organs delivered.
Oh, easy peasy. Although actually he did apologise recently, didn't he? He apologised to his people for COVID. Yes,
he did, and he wept as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Even though no one in North Korea has caught it, of course.
No. And you know, our leader shouldn't really show weakness like that. So
I'm slightly disappointed.
Yeah, I we still love him, but we wish he would show more strength.
He even apologized when that South Korean fishing inspector, or whatever he was, who ended up getting shot and they burnt the body, and he apologized for that as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Kind of.
That's weird.
Roundabout way. Yeah.
That's weird because I like leaders who can apologize, but I'm not sure about. Not sure that applies there.
Yeah, it's not a good look on him, Anyway,
yes.
That's a roundabout way of saying that this is. I was going to say the magic morning wood, but it's not. It's a YCHYFUS, which is magic morning wood adjacent, I suppose. It's like a little nook or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bastard offspring.
Yeah.
It's magic morning wood after birth.
Yes, and your two bastards are Clive Davies and him over there,
Darren Jones.
And how are you, Darren? Are you doing all right?
I'm very well today, Clive. I've as we were discussing before, I've been off work just in time for the lockdown. So I've had the previous week off to do absolutely nothing with. Mm-hmm. And we're recording this at a different time than we would normally because I've got time off. And instead of my morning cup of tea, I'm having a beer with the YCHYFUS today. So I'm feeling very splendid.
Old Speckled Hen.
Old Speckled Hen is welcome to sponsor the show.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Yes, and we're happy to bring the YCHYFUS podcast via reputable ale houses. If any are listening and would like to issue some sponsorship bonds.
Yes. Anything else we fancy getting? Free stuff? What do you want? Some like Jaffa cakes or something?
Yeah, Jaffa cakes are good. Yes, we can do Jaffa cakes. I'll I tell you who might sponsor us is you may not have had these, but in the UK you get the Jaffa cakes, right? So I don't know how many non-UK listeners we have, but those that don't know, Jaffa cake is a little biscuity cake thing with orange flavour and chocolate on the top and a sponge base. Well, they in Poland they do the same thing. So it's like a Jaffa cake.
Yeah.
But it's different flavours. And you can get a strawberry one and a cherry one.
Oh, the cherry one.
Yeah, now then. So they're called, I'll probably mispronounce this, I'll get my Polish friends to tell me, but they're called Delicie. So we want to be sponsored by Delicie. And if you send a few crates over to my house and Clive's house, then you can get a plug. Yeah.
Also, she might be out of work now. So if Ivanka Trump's looking for a secretary job, there's a position for her here over at HQ.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we've got all the paddles and everything. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to have an Ilsa-like secretary to run things for me. So it's full of possibilities. Our future is, Darren.
Well, exactly. The future is glorious. Just like our leader.
But it's not orange. To paraphrase the old
grey.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway,
well, why don't we say that this episode of YCHYFUS is sponsored by Common Sense and Liberty.
There we go. Yes. One of our potential listeners won't like that, though, I think.
Who's that then?
Well, I don't know if he listens to YCHYFUS, but a friend of Magic Morning Wood, Gino Cuddy, who actually came on for the Dual episode.
30s films.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was quite sad that Biden won.
Oh, well, you can't win them all, Gino, but thank you for listening anyway.
Yes. I wonder if he does listen to this one. He should let me know if you do, Gino. I don't know if he's interested in Kung Fu films, but even if you're not, I would like to think the YCHYFUS is a good place to start. If you have a friend, a sibling, a colleague, a friend, anyone who you want to slowly introduce to the world of Kung Fu films, I think there's no better place to start than YCHYFUS. Would you agree with that, Darren?
No, I agree. Yeah. We're because we're aiming every episode at entry level, but also hopefully we're including nuggets that seasoned pros will find interesting as well. So it's kind of we're going from zero, but there's interesting nuggets throughout. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, in my experience, when you're dealing with things that are relatively niche, even if you know pretty much everything about it, just hearing someone else talk about it is fun anyway, right? So so I don't think you have to work too hard to get the audience who are already interested.
No, exactly.
So that's why we aimed at maybe, kind of trying to make it accessible for those who, although I'm not, to be honest, when we go off on some tangents, I'm not quite sure, we kind of forget about that every now and again. So
sometimes we go down, junior kickstart and Jimmy Savile rabbit holes that are not always accessible to people who don't have the same upbringing or twisted senses of humor that we do. So
apologies, but we're trying our very best. We've got to have a bit
new
of
listener.
Fun. We've got to have a bit of fun.
Oh yeah. Also, new listener, shout out, if I may.
Yeah, go.
Lee, thank you very much for our Lee from Hertfordshire. Thank you very much for being our new subscriber who mentioned it the other day.
Oh, okay.
Another new one.
Much, Lee,
another new recruit.
Yeah. Right. Now 10. So
keep listening for extra nonsense.
Yes, we'll get down to it then, is it?
Yeah.
Right. So we are still slap bang in the middle of our what do you call it? Shaw retrospective, right? Shaw Brothers retrospective.
Yeah.
We're kind of setting. I suppose the idea is to set it up because it's such a monolithic. A monolithic monolith, I was going to say, which works.
It is, yes.
Monolith. Yeah. If you're interested in Kung Fu cinema history, there's no getting round Shaw, and you shouldn't be trying to get around Shaw either. And it's a good base camp jumping off point, right? Get your Shaws in order, and then
because the history of Shaws is also the history of the Kung Fu film in a roundabout way.
Yes.
So you're kind of, you because we've been doing it chronologically, so we're kind of almost towards the midpoint now in the Shaws, aren't we?
Yes.
Pretty much at the midpoint.
Well, we're going chronologically, and as a consequence, we're also sort of going thematic, right? So for this one, I suppose we're in an interesting kind of midpoint where last time before the Halloween special, we were in Iron Triangle territory. right? Or the iron square, if you include script machine Ikwang or Nikwang. So now we're not
cyborg.
The script cyborg. And now we are not quite into Venom's territory.
Yeah, well, we're nearly there in SHAOLIN Temple. We're nearly there.
And
we'll get on to that.
If you're thinking, what the fuck's a Venom? Well, stick around for the next episode.
Where we don't do five deadly venoms. No.
Perversely, we miss out the one key text. But if you want 5 venoms, we should mention as well, there's another fine series of podcasts. If you go over to Podcast on Fire, run by the Swede Kenneth Bråson, I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but never mind. Kenny B. And they did a 5 venoms episode. And I would say that's a pretty good companion piece to our Venoms episode, which we haven't done yet. But but we'll get into Venoms. But we're not quite there yet, where there's some Venoms around, they're lurking, but they're not, they haven't been Venoms yet, right?
No, they're proto-venoms.
Proto-venoms.
Venlets.
Tadpoles.
Yes. Yeah.
But nothing to do with Loli,
though. No. You're confusing the issue now with mentioning tadpoles. We only have to keep the frogs. Or see if we get into frog.
Yeah.
Is Lo Mang the frog from Venoms? I think he is. Or is it Lu Feng? Sometimes I get confused.
The toad.
I think it's Lo Mang. Yeah, I think Lo Mang is the toad, isn't he? Yeah.
I think he'd have to be. He's the most toady looking, isn't he?
Yeah.
Thinking about
he's the broadest one as well, isn't he?
They did miss a trick not casting Loli, really, didn't they?
They should have cast him as the toad. Yeah, but he was new talent. Loli was probably well in Taiwan by then anyway, wasn't he?
So do you think Loli gave birth to some tadpoles and they became the Venoms?
Well, no, only one of them would become the Venoms, and that would be Toad.
So Lo Meng's Toad is son of Loli Frog?
Yeah, but only after he turned evil, after drinking the poison pond water. Hence the venom. That's why he's venomous.
It all makes sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah, complete fucking sense. And it's going to make even more sense to the listeners whose first podcast this is.
Yeah, fair play. If you've made it this far, I mean, hats off to you.
Fair play.
And Darren's only just started drinking as well, so this is going. This is going to go south quick. So let's jump into it while we're still reasonably eligible.
Or maybe they were there for Halloween when it did go a little bit.
Right.
That was a particularly tangential.
Yeah, but that wasn't our fault. That was Kung Fu Zombie's fault.
That's well, and to be fair, and Hammer's, Yeah. Homoerotic nonsense.
But Darren, did it please you? I'm being Shizu.
You cut out a minute there. I didn't hear you.
I asked, did it please you? Did it please you, Darren?
It did. My porcelain kitten.
Right. Now, come on now. We better get on with it.
What films are we doing today, Clive?
Right. Okay. So today we are doing kind of in the wrong order, really, but that may be beneficial. Chronologically, we're doing them correctly, but we'll get into that. We're doing Heroes 2, which isn't a sequel to Heroes 1. It's Heroes 2. And
has nothing to do with Heroic Trio.
No. And
Warriors 2.
And, shut up, Darren. And Shaolin Temple.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So, Naurte. So, so yeah, I suppose it's Shaolin, really, isn't it? Is the theme here?
Yeah. So this is kind of Chang Cheh's Shaolin cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the first time we've ventured into Shaolin territory, right? I don't think we've done a Shaolin film yet.
No. Well, unless you count Ninja Hunter.
I don't think we do. I don't think we do really.
No, that's not quite.
No,
that's not canon Shaolin. That's not Shaolin canon. This is actually a reasonably serious attempt to put some Shaolin mythos into film, isn't it?
Yes. Well, actually, I to be honest, I mean, obviously, we'll discuss the merits of the films in particular, but in general, particularly in terms of Heroes 2, I don't necessarily have that much to say, you know, of interest about the film itself. But it did lead me down some interesting rabbit holes in terms of trying to figure out the historical accuracy and, you know, the mythological angle and stuff like that. So yeah. I'll very quickly get the plot out the way, if you don't mind, and then we
go for it.
It's fairly simple with this one. It's fairly simple. The basic plot is that Fu Sheng plays Fang Shiyu, or as you may know him, Fong Sai-yuk.
Yep.
So for those who don't know, and we'll get into this a bit more when we get to the second half of the double bill, but Fong Sai-yuk is a folk hero, I suppose, along the lines of Huang Fei-hung, right?
Yeah.
So a great Chinese patriot with martial arts skills who fought against the... Oh, is that your cat, Darren?
That's my cat. Sorry. Hello, listeners. Say hello to Lena, who's moaning for no reason.
How old is Lena now?
She's been about 18.
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she healthy?
Yeah, she's all right. Yeah. Apparently, we think she's deaf and possibly slightly demented. But in general, she's quite sprightly.
Oh, that's good. That's quite heartening because I have two cats as well, and now they're into double figures. And but the funny thing, I've noticed that people are not quite sure about. Like, you'll hear stories about, oh, that cat, she was around when my grandfather was, you know, and cats seem to have quite a. I think people assume they only live to about 15, 16, something like that. But some cats seem to live an inordinately much longer period of time, right? Like almost double, which is weird because if humans did that, like you don't have, you know, most people live to 75, 80, and all of a sudden you'll meet someone, oh, he's 160 years old. Like it just doesn't happen. So cats are strange like that. I don't quite know how they do that, but
no, I don't think cats live beyond 25. I think that's your top of the tier for a cat.
But still, I mean, that's and then the whole bollocks about cat years, human years makes no sense then either.
No.
Because then they'd be 175 years old or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes no sense.
No, but nice to have a little cameo appearance from.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So everyone, please say hello to Lena.
Yes.
Named after Lena Romay.
Yeah. The lovely Lena Romay
of Jess Franco fame.
Yes, I've been watching quite a bit of Franco and Lena Romay recently, actually, in between the Fu, and because I got the copy. I don't know if you've read it yet, Darren, but Stephen Thrower has a 2-volume set on Franco.
Oh, I haven't read that.
Oh, hang on, I'll tell you what the titles are now.
Yeah.
Murderous Passions and Flowers of Perversion.
Oh, good titles, actually.
Every single Jess Franco film. Incredible. Everything. Gone into in detail. Alternative versions. Anything. Possibly. Oh, if it's... buy them now while they're... Because they came out like 2 years ago, so they're probably still around. They're not out of print, reasonably priced. The Fab Press.
Well, they're head press.
Fab Press.
Are they head press?
Fab Press.
Oh, Fab Prep. Oh, yeah, cool. Harvey, yeah. Harvey, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So snap them up now, because I'm guessing they'll go for silly money, in a few years. And,
I will.
Yeah, brilliant books. So that's plus as well. Stephen Thrower, I think what I like about Stephen Thrower is he's able to. He really, even if you've never had time for Jess Franco before, and to be fair, it is hard to get into Jess Franco, right? It's not.
No, it's a slog.
Yeah,
but when you're in the groove,
exactly. And Stephen Thrower is really good at conveying his fandom. Like he really makes you understand the obsession that he has for Jess Franco, and then you start getting tainted with it yourself a little bit.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But all to do with Shaolin.
Much like we would like YCHYFUS to be.
Yes. Yeah. If only we were as talented as Stephen Thrower.
Well, but maybe our insanity can bleed through the airwaves.
Yeah. He's also got nicer hair than us. Well, he's got hair, which is up on me already. But
well, I need a haircut. I should have had a haircut last week. I became lazy, did not have a haircut, and now I look like Uncle Fester with a perm.
But that's a nice look, I think. Uncle Fester with a perm. That's a nice look.
I'm not complaining really, but it's not my usual look. But anyway, let's discuss the film, shall we?
Fu Sheng as Fong Sayuk, and who is a disciple of Shaolin, I guess, but he's not. He seems to have left the temple behind, right? Or he's at least a follower of the styles and the discipline. I don't know actually. Again, this is we'll get into this a bit more, but watching these two films together as well really made me want to get a really properly good book or find some websites or something about all this, because I did the cursory go to Wikipedia thing, right? And I know Wikipedia is not by all and end all, and people moan about Wikipedia. But you won't hear me moaning about Wikipedia, because I think it's one of those things throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? People are always saying, Wikipedia, you can't trust Wikipedia. And you're thinking, shut up. Wikipedia is actually fucking brilliant. Yeah. But it's sometimes, things get in there, and that's it.
The good thing about Wikipedia is it's peer-reviewed and edited.
Yeah.
And moderated. So the edits are always moderated by staff. And if you've got better information than the person who wrote the article, then you can add to it automatically.
Yes.
And then it can be reviewed by other people down the line, and it's continually evolving process.
Yes.
So I'm all for Wikipedia.
Yeah, no. It's annoying sometimes when people refer to it as, you got that from Wikipedia, as if it's, totally unreliable bogus source. It's not. Things get in there sometimes for a bit, but they disappear. You should be grateful for Wikipedia, people of the world.
Yeah. All we had back in the day before the internet, all we had was that fucking Asian cult cinema.
As all we had was a stick and a tangerine at Christmas.
Yeah. Exactly.
And a lump of coal.
Yeah. And if you didn't yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you didn't like Wang Yu, we got a lump of coal and a kick in.
Yeah. In fact, Wang Yu would come round himself.
Yeah. Chop your arm off.
Yeah. So yes. So that said, the Wikipedia entry on Fong Sayuk is quite pathetic. It's basically Fong Sayuk was a Chinese folk hero who did this in this style. Here's a bunch of films about him, and then there's a list of films. And that's kind of about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think for this though, unless you've done a lot more research than I have on this, Clive, I think what we need to do is take the Shaolin film cycle as canon for Fong Sayuk and Hung Si Quan,
right?
And these folk heroes that we're talking about.
Yes.
Unless you've got info that I haven't.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. I wish I did, and I wish I'd thought in advance of doing so, but I kind of assumed there'd be a little bit more, at my fingertips. But no, you really have to dig a bit to find the proper.
Well, I think Hung Si Kwan, who in this is played by Cheng Kwan Tai.
Yes,
I think he's a real dude.
Yes,
so I think he's got a lineage of kung fu.
Well, I think Hung Si-yuk was a real person as well, right? I think.
Well, no, actually, I think there's doubt over that. I think there's a good chance that Fang Xiu was fictitious. Because he doesn't have a lineage of kung fu.
Right.
But he does die younger than the others, and he doesn't set up a triad.
Yeah. So from what I understand, so Hung Si Kwan or Hong Hei Gun, who Cheng Kwan Tai plays, one of his disciples went on to form Hung Ga, right? Hung Ga style.
Yes. Yeah.
And Hung Ga is that's Liu Cha Liang's hood.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Liu Cha Liang being one of the choreographers of Heroes 2 with Tang Chia or Tong Kai, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing I noted as well, so he's also the person who Donnie Yen plays in a TV series called The Kung Fu Master.
Okay.
Which I've not seen, but apparently it's one of the better long-running.
Hung Si Kwan?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And
it makes sense after him playing Ip Man, and
and also is I think is the character that Jet Li plays in New Legends of Shaolin. Okay. But again, I mean, they're kind of. It's interesting how all of these kind of cast of characters, all of these folk heroes, all of these, progenitors of all these styles, they're all, like we were talking before, in the same way as the peplums take all the Mediterranean heroes and throw them together into some kind of stew, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, right? So they pick and mix the bits that they like, and they take this real person and they combine it with this fictitious hero. And it's very, like you said, it might, the best thing might be to just take this as gospel in a way.
Yeah. I mean, well, yes and no, because I think that it's legitimate to say that a number of existing styles, active in Kung Fu in China, originate from Shaolin. That's how a lot of the Kung Fu got out there. Shaolin, we know Shaolin Temple got burnt, so we know that's a historical event. We know people escaped who taught the Kung Fu. So, quite a large amount of this is probably quite true. It's just the details were probably a bit sketchy on.
Yes. And even, I mean, I didn't realize this until, again, just a cursory look up. I didn't realize that the famous burning of the Shaolin Temple, that the date was so contested as well. Like, no one seems to be able to say.
No.
And I'm not even talking like within a decade or something. The dates range from like mid 17th century to like early 18th century. There's like a huge gap of time where I'm like, it may be burnt down around then.
Yeah.
And confusing the issue as well is Shaolin Temple apparently was run by the Three Stooges or something, and was quite prone to burn down or collapse or
it's not the well-oiled machine. I don't think in reality it was the well-oiled machine that it appears to be in the films.
No. So there was So and that's the starting point for this particular film, is the burning of Shaolin Temple as well. So
so you're thrown straight in the action, aren't you? You're thrown straight into the calamity of burning of Shaolin.
And what struck me about this as well is I was wondering, because I've forgotten to a certain extent when we first watched all these movies, about 20 years ago or something for the first time. We were thrown totally into a world we didn't really know anything about, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm guessing when this film came out in 1973 to a predominantly Chinese fan base, Chinese viewer base, no one would have had to have this explained to them. Like,
no,
it's like the Alamo or something, right? It's like,
yeah, or Robin Hood, or
yeah. So I'm just wondering,
Captain Hook.
Obviously now I'm not confused, but I'm wondering if, as a first-time viewer not familiar with this stuff, do you think it's kind of well explained and put into context or is it just some burning building? Like,
no, I think in this film, well, funny enough, we were talking just before we came on air. I managed to watch Shaolin Avengers and Men from Monastery,
right?
and Shaolin Martial Arts, actually.
These are the films in the Chang Cheh Shaolin cycle, right?
Yeah. So these are films made with, and they have very, very, very similar plots. They all have very similar plots with all the same characters.
Right.
And some of the scenes are just reshoots of the same scenes in these. And one of the things that occurred to me is I remember watching Men from the Monastery and thinking, oh, it's a fucking brilliant film. And I just finished watching it this afternoon again. And I thought, it's kind of average, not particularly impressed by that. And, in context of watching Heroes 2, in context of watching Shaolin Temple again, and in context of watching another related film that Chang Cheh made around the same time, Shaolin Avengers.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And actually, I forget the point I was making now. Oh, yeah, no. Is it accessible? But no, I do remember watching this, and I remember thinking, yeah, Shaolin Temple is burned down. I think most people will kind of get the idea that, yeah, there was a Shaolin Temple, it burnt down. That's where they taught all the kung fu.
Right.
And it's fairly well explained, I think, within the context of the film of Heroes 2, anyway. Because you've got Manchus attacking Shaolin. Shaolin is obviously the place where you learn all the kung fu. There's a big fight right at the start with the main characters where they're trying to escape from Shaolin, and then the same kind of characters are coming after them throughout the film.
Yeah,
so it's kind of
it's certainly set up well enough that you can follow the film. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that about I just watched Men from Monastery and I wasn't very impressed. It's almost like an embarrassment of riches, really, isn't it? Is that there were so many high quality Chang Cheh Shaw productions and non-Chang Cheh films as well around this time, that I agree with what you say. If you settle down and decide, I'm going to watch, a bunch of Shaw Brothers films this week, a certain amount of fatigue may set in.
Yeah.
But still, on a case-by-case basis, they're really well-made films, right? Really.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
We'll get to that. I think we'll get to that more with when we get to Shaolin Temple, because Shaolin Temple really stood out to me this time. Anyway, we're doing Heroes 2.
Yeah.
So the Shaolin Temple burns down. Hung Shi Quan, Chen Quan. I'll just refer to him as Chen Quan Tai from now on because it's easier.
Yeah.
I've got that name memorized, but Hung Shi Quan was a bit of a new one on me, I have to admit, even though I've probably seen him portrayed in all manner of films, but he's not a name that jumps out like Feng Sayok or Wong Fei Hung. Would you agree, Darren? I think more because there's not that much cinematically, as far as I know. But then again, there could be a whole bunch of films where they've been dubbed into English, they haven't bothered. Because I'm not there's a few films, for instance, when we get to Shaolin Temple, there's the character who created Wing Chun, right?
Yip Wing Chun.
Yeah. And then turns out once you're aware of that, and you see some other films from earlier in the 70s, and then you put two and two together, and you're, oh, hang on, this is a Wing Chun story. Except in the English dub, they just call it Kung Fu, right? And
yeah. Or Young Chun a lot of the time in the other films I've noticed. Yeah.
Right. So
but go on.
So basically this, I was slightly confused by this. So Cheng Quan-tai, he's escaped from the burning Shaolin temple, and he's kind of wandering about. As far as I can tell, is he just beating people up?
Yeah, he's good. Well, I think he's kind of, so he's escaped the Shaolin temple.
Yeah.
And he keeps coming across kind of, waves of defense almost.
Right.
Of the Qing soldiers. No, it's Ming, isn't it?
No, it's Qing. He's Ming.
Qing. Yeah. So he keeps kind of coming across kind of outlying kind of guards and then kicks the shit out of them.
But he also seems to kick the shit out of some people who aren't, right? Like porters and stuff like that. And he's fairly ruthless. Right?
He's indiscriminate, isn't he? Yeah.
It's an interesting one to set up one of your heroes as a fairly ruthless kind of bloodthirsty killer, right?
Yeah, because he's just basically walking through the forest for the first half of the film, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's just kind of
people.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And I was waiting for it to turn and there to be a reveal or something, but no. He's just like a killing machine, right? He's on a rampage.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? Yeah, go on, carry on.
It's just not what you expect from this kind of film as a setup for your. Because he's not just a hero, right? Like, he's the hero of this film, right? In a way, even more so than Fu Sheng's Feng Sayuk, because Feng Sayuk really looks up to this guy, right?
Yeah.
And when it turns out, so Feng Sayuk thinks, oh, who's this twat? I don't like him. I'm going to take him down, right? And he's tricked by General Cheh, as played by Chu Mu, who was someone I'm not overly familiar with, I have to say, Darren.
No. Mm-hmm. No.
But him and his cronies, including the fantastically crony-ish Wong Ching.
Yeah.
I mean, poor Wong Ching. I mean, you're not playing a good guy with a face like that, do you?
No. No, we discussed him the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
At Halloween. Yeah.
Yes, but he's got a hell of a mug on him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But I like Wong Ching. I'm always glad.
Yeah, he's great.
Wong Ching. And of course, Fung Ha-gon. Hey,
yeah.
Fung Ha-gon's here.
He's got a bit of a bigger role in this as well, isn't he? He's a bit more of a bully in this.
Yeah. He'd had a word, or that's Fung. He's pretty good. Let's give him a few lines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This progression of Fung Ha-gon. But yeah, I like all this forest business though, where Cheng Quan-tai is roaming through the forest and keeps kicking the shit out of people.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. It's an odd way to portray him.
Yeah. But it's kind of quite clever as well, because you've got Fu Sheng comes in, doesn't he? So Fu Sheng comes in, kind of, who is, well, we'll get into it in Shaolin Temple, but there's some plot holes kicking about in this cycle.
Right.
One of which is Feng Sayuk is meant to know Hung Shi Quan from Shaolin Temple.
Right, but he clearly,
But they don't know each other's faces. But anyway, that's by the by.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then some of the beaten up, Qing loyalists convince Feng Sayuk that that Hung Shi Quan, Cheng Quan-tai's character, has is just a ruthless murderer and robber.
Right. Which the evidence does point at as well. I mean,
exactly.
I can see why Fu Sheng might have been tricked in this instance, right?
Yeah. Because he's pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah, Fu Sheng's Feng Sayuk is a very kind of righteous, kind of chipper, kind of perfect casting for Fu Sheng. Actually, and it's interesting as well. by the time they get to the end of the film, I think they've sorted it out a bit better. But at first, the contrast between Fu Sheng, who I think wasn't a proper trained martial artist, right? I mean, he'd gone through the motion through the Shaw School to do like screen arts and stuff. But you compare him to Chen Quan Tai, who is the real deal, right? And from the beginning, when you see Chen Quan Tai on his rampage, and then Fu Sheng has a few kind of little skirmishes, and it's night and day, right? Like one guy knows, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And the other guy looks, well, like he's been through the Shaw School, right?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Fu Sheng can convincingly do Fong Sayuk, right? And Fong Sayuk is all about Tiger and Crane.
Right.
I think he can convincingly do that because, you know, that's his bag. That's what he became famous for. But I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. My guess
you look at Chen Quan Tai.
Yeah. And he's
and he's like, his muscle memory is all over it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. My guess is as well that the production must have been a learning curve for because by the time we do get to the end, when it's, you know, them two against the world or whatever, Fu Sheng is a lot more credible by the end of the film, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just me getting used to it. I think he just clearly looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Whereas at the beginning, I don't know, there was a few scenes I was like, you know, he looked as if some of the people who he was fighting with were holding back a little bit, or they, you know, conveniently were in the right position to be hit by that, and he just didn't quite have the speed and the power, right?
Yeah, he does a bit of flailing at the start, doesn't
he? Flailing is the word. Who knows? Maybe we've accidentally hit onto something. Maybe it was this film. Maybe Fu Sheng. Maybe this was the film where he did go from here to here. You know.
Well, but the other thing is that Liu Jialang really took Fu Sheng under his wing as well, because he kind of ended up following Liu Jialang on his career. You know, and on Liu Jialang's directorial career after this.
Yes.
And didn't really appear in many other people's films.
No, and from what I think heard, they were pretty close. Like when Fu Sheng died young, apparently Liu Jialang was fairly devastated by it.
Yeah.
It was more than just a working relationship, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, and I really like Fu Sheng in this. I really like Fu Sheng in as Fong Sayuk, actually.
Yes, I agree with you. And I'm not the biggest Fu Sheng fan in the world, as we've discussed before. Not that nothing against him. I was just, you know, he was never my guy. I guess because he's the, and I don't mean this disparagingly because this isn't easy to do, but he's kind of like he's the in for the more casual viewer and the ladies as well, right? Because he's he's kind of like comparable to nowadays a lot of big budget Japanese films get bankrolled because there's a pop idol in it.
Oh yeah.
And they can't act for shit, and they look about 12 years old, but they're playing a grizzled forensic scientist. But because they're in it, you get the cash to make the film. So I wouldn't quite put Fu Sheng in that category. He's not that bad, but he's somewhere around there. He's the good-looking.
No, but he's the film's. He's the movie star, isn't he? He's the movie star in this film.
Yes, exactly. He's not really a character, and I always tend to go for character actors, I suppose, rather than movies.
No, Fu Sheng's only got one speed, and that speed is Fong Sayuk.
Yeah.
That speed is arrogant little shit who's a bit cheeky and sometimes funny. Yeah, that's Fu Sheng's speed.
Yeah, and he's perfectly good at it in this, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, we're doing all this, and I'm not a huge Fu Sheng fan. I like Fu Sheng. I enjoy watching Fu Sheng, particularly in this sort of role.
Right.
But I think, you know, if we look at it in context, if we look at Fu Sheng in context and the characters he was playing in context, you got to remember this is before Jackie Chan. Right. So in many ways, you know, what Fu Sheng was doing here is exactly what Jackie Chan did for a large part of the 70s and 80s.
That's actually a good point. Jackie Chan's Wong Fei Hung in Drunken Master, there's more than a little Fu Sheng Fong Sayuk, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So, you know, do we sometimes treat Fu Sheng a little bit harshly because we already know about Jackie Chan?
Yeah, it could be. And because he's kind of, yes, Jackie Chan as well inspires a little bit of the underdog cheering in you as well, because he's not anywhere near as good looking as Fu Sheng was as well.
True.
So to see, when you hear stories of Jackie Chan's floundering and all that, there's a little bit of you which is like, oh, good on you, because you were even, you know, you were in the same line as Wong Ching almost.
Yeah, exactly.
When they were
well done for being a millionaire, Jackie Chan. Yeah.
yeah. But Fu Sheng, you know, was blessed with good looks, just like you and me, Aaron.
Well, exactly. Yeah. It's like looking in the mirror. Fu Sheng.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was, Geraldine went to bed just before we started recording.
Right.
And she asked me, so what are you doing tonight then? What films are you doing tonight? And I said, oh yeah, so we're doing, you know, Heroes 2, and we're doing Shaolin Temple. She said, oh, which one's Shaolin Temple again? I said, oh yeah, it's the one with Fu Sheng and Tilung. And she said, Ti Lung.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to dedicate the Ti Lung special to.
Yes. We know what she's dreaming about as we speak.
Yeah.
So yes, so the Qing managed to bamboozle Fu Sheng, and they enlist his help to catch this ruthless man going around killing people, and he basically hands him over to them, and he ends up chained to a wall in a dungeon.
Nailed to a wall in the dungeon, really. Isn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, the bad guys, I mean, once they've got him, it's almost like they don't quite know what to do with him in this. I just put him on the wall, and that's about it. They don't seem to torture him.
Yeah, they don't torture him. They don't.
No.
Yeah.
They just wanted him. They wanted a hero on the wall. It brightens the place up.
Yeah, they didn't have a big enough picture to put on that wall, and it was just looking a bit bare, you know.
Yeah. If he'd have stayed, they might have put a frame around him.
Yeah. Exactly. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Those nice gold ones, you know, those nice gold things.
Yeah.
The wobbly ones, you know.
So then, anyway, Fu Sheng finally discovers that he's been tricked, because all the other Ming loyalists are like shunning him and saying, "Oh, that's the guy. That's the turncoat he turned in." You know, Hung Shi Quan, and finally Fu Sheng is, "Oh no, shit, damn." And
before then though, you've got quite a nice moment. I quite like this moment. So the reason that Fu Sheng, Fong Sayuk beats Chen Quan Tai, Hung Shi Quan, is Hung Shi Quan works out who Fu Sheng is,
right,
and then is so stunned that Fu Sheng defeats him.
Yes.
So Fu Sheng pulls his tiger and crane style. At which point, Hung Shi Quan realizes, fuck, that's Fong Sayuk, he's a traitor, and is so shocked he allows himself to be defeated.
Yeah.
Which is nice little kung fu deep cut moment, you know.
Yeah. Well, it happens again as well, right? When Fu Sheng is fighting with, I think, Bruce Tong, I think. Where he realizes what he's done, and he's equally as stunned, right? And then allows Bruce Tong to beat him up. Right?
Yeah, he just gets the shit kicked out.
Yeah, because it's like
so that's a nice little repetition, there, isn't it?
Yeah, and because he's like paralyzed, isn't he? It's like he can't fight back. Even
he just clutches the chair, doesn't he? He falls down on a chair, doesn't he? And just clutches it and says, "Just fucking kill me."
Yeah.
So what we are in at the moment is we are in high drama, high melodrama, high emotional states of all the characters. Yeah.
Also worth pointing out as well, what really aids this film was the soundtrack. As a credited to Wang Fuling, and it's always difficult with Hong Kong films in general, but even Shaw films. You'd think like other non-Shaw films have stolen music from all over the place, right? As we've discussed before. But with Shaw, I think you always kind of assume, oh, it's Shaw, so they must have had proper composers doing. But it's confusing because sometimes they do, and then sometimes they just went.
Yeah, sometimes they're just nicking.
Yeah, sometimes they go around Frankie Chan's record collection and ask him, "Oh, what have you bought down the market this week, Frankie?" And I've got the Diamond the Forever soundtrack. Cool, let's put that up. That kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, this really cool artist called Ennio Morricone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, it's a very spaghetti score in parts. This one.
It is.
Yeah. And then other parts, fucking. There's one sequence I thought was really rousing, and it sounded like Ifukube Akira, the guy who did the Gojira soundtrack. It sounded like stuff. Again, I've
Menace.
I've no idea if this is. I mean, let's go give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say this was all composed by Wang Fuling. If so, well done. Da iawn ti. But someone more knowledgeable about film soundtracks than this, because I have to admit, one of my Achilles' heels as a film critic is I'm very poor at identifying film soundtracks. Yeah. Like I'll know I've heard it before, but I couldn't tell you what the film is, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I can't make up that slack in this duo, I'm afraid. I'm the same as you. That's right, then. Yeah.
So anyway, whatever this music is, it's a very good soundtrack. Which
definitely,
yeah. So let's build a tunnel. Let's go rescue Chen Quan-tai, and then I kind of stopped making specific notes. And eventually, Chu Mu, he brings in his lama buddies, right? Because he's trained martial arts with lamas, right?
But before then, so you've got this kind of ongoing kind of angst with Fu Sheng.
Yeah.
So Fu Sheng is utterly destroyed by the fact that he helped capture Hung Xi-Quan.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've got these scenes where, it's kind of, hero lackey number one goes to hero uncle boss and says, he won't come out of the tunnel. He just keeps digging.
Right.
He won't come out. He's been in there 3 days, but he has to rest. And basically, so Fong Sai-yuk is so overcome with guilt that he basically digs this tunnel almost on his own. Does more hours than anyone else, and finally kind of makes the breakthrough.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice. How because there's a lot of sort of chicanery around the tunnels. There's a lot. They spend a lot of time in the tunnels for the film.
Yeah.
And then they discover, they start banging on the stone wall that they hit under the tunnel. Where he's tied up. He's basically crucified on this this stone wall, and they're doing all these kind of hand signals, knocking, once and twice and all that, and then they discover the nails he's been nailed in by,
right?
On the stone wall, and and it's Fong Sai-yuk that discovers these, and he bangs them out, and then he enables Chen Quan-tai, Hung Xi-Quan to escape, and he has a few fights and he gets out. And then eventually they get together, and then Fu Sheng eventually gains Chen Quan-tai's forgiveness. Right. He calls him brother.
Yes. Oh yes, he's very.
And then he
doesn't he? He goes, "Oh, you called me brother." He's very pleased.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And again, but we were talking before, weren't we? We were talking before about the kind of hallmarks of Chang Cheh filmmaking. And this is classic Chang Cheh.
Oh yeah.
This whole, this whole brotherhood thing. Like we were talking before, like we were talking in Deadly Duo. It's all about the brotherhood. It's all about respect, face, and loyalty to brothers. And this is where Hung Shi Quan and Feng Shui are coming from. This is brotherhood. And this is why, Fu Sheng's character, Feng Shui, is so devastated.
Yeah.
Was that he gave up his brother by mistake.
Right.
And that's everything to him.
It's interesting as well. I wonder if this, I'd never kind of considered this before, but for instance, there's a type of Japanese manga which is really popular called shonen ai, which is a boy's love. It's very popular with women, and they're basically kind of romantic comics to do with incredibly good-looking gay men's relationships. Right? It's very, very, very popular with women. I don't know if gay men actually read them at all. It's predominantly women who enjoy these comics, and I'm wondering if that's part of the because obviously, this comes out in the cinema. Oh, yeah, I want to go and see the new, Shaw Brothers Kung Fu film. And, blokes want to go and they want to see the fighting.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering if the girlfriend or wife who comes along, I mean, how much of, obviously they enjoy the action as well, but how much of the appeal is seeing two incredibly good-looking men in different ways. You have Fu Sheng, very soft, gentle, cute, and then Chen Quan Tai is this hard guy, stripped to the waist through the entire film. And
always stripped to the waist. Yeah,
and basically kind of having a bit of a bromance, right? I'm wondering how much of the appeal for female members of the audience this was, and it must be some in there somewhere, right? That must.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I get off on it as well, though. To be honest,
Yes, but
I'm way into that.
But in a slightly different way, I think. Like, I mean, as much as you can identify with it and appreciate it, you're not gay, so. It's objective to us, there's a certain point where you don't cross over on that level into the subject. But if you're actually hot,
for sure.
Yeah, then
no, I'm not
better. Yeah,
I'm not quite getting that, but I'm for me, and as 20 years ago as now, I completely buy into the brotherhood narrative,
right?
Well, and yes, of course, it's homoerotic.
Yeah.
But also, I'm completely swept up and swept away
absolutely.
by this whole loyalty, honor, brotherhood angle. And that tugs my heartstrings.
It does. But I'm just saying, for some other viewers, it might even go one step further and it's, wank bank material, whereas it's not for me.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, so eventually when we like you said, there's all this, and there's of course lots of back and forth, and there's lots of drama, and all very engaging, all very, very engaging, never boring for a minute.
No.
But then when we do get to the finale, and there's something about llamas. Yeah. Like when llamas turn up, you're in trouble. I don't know how they do it. Like, this film's full of hard blokes kicking the shit out of each other. But then when the llamas turn up, you're like, oh, fuck. Oh, hang on now. These fuckers are trouble. Like, they just look all sinewy and fucking burnished. Like they've been, burnt over a fire or something. They just look tough as fuck, right? You wouldn't want to fight llamas.
Well, it does help that one of them's Li Hoi San and the other one's Lau Kao Wing.
True that. Yeah. Especially Li Hoi Sang. Li Hoi Sang is, I don't know what it is about Li Hoi Sang, but I think if I was walking down the street late at night and Li Hoi Sang was walking, I would probably cross to the other side because he just looked like fucking trouble, that guy.
Well, he's like the Chinese Michael Berryman, isn't he? He's like...
Yeah, yes. But even Michael Berryman looks friendlier. Like when
Michael Berryman's a bit cute, to be fair.
When he's not running around with a baby and a knife, and like if you saw him on this, he'd probably smile at you and he'd say, "Oh yeah." But Lee Hoi-sang just looks like, no.
He's got crazy eyes, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes, we should also mention, seeing as we're doing roll call, other people here: Chang Nan, YCHYFUS, Choi Fat, Wong Mei, and Brandy Yun.
Yeah. Yun Shani's in there as well.
Yes, yeah.
Ken Cheng is in there, apparently.
Was he?
Apparently, he's in the credits. I didn't see him. Yeah.
All right. No, I didn't notice him either. I wonder if he was thin in those days. Maybe that's why we didn't.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. I would love to see a screenshot of Ken Cheng from 1974.
But 73.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, that sounded awfully pedantic.
No, that's fine. No, I was going to argue my case and then I couldn't be bothered.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Because it doesn't matter.
And you're wrong. As well.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
Everyone knows 74 is the year that he put on the pounds.
That's it. That's when he ballooned.
So anyway, this final fight is fucking great.
Like 2020 for me. Sorry?
This final fight is fucking great, isn't it? It's nice, long, extended. Yeah. And like I said, Fu Sheng finally comes in. I mean, it's almost no point saying it because it's Chang Cheh, Su Chilang, and they're well along now in this period. So, the choreography is really starting to take shape. You've got proper styles, you got shapes, as they say.
So there's good shapes. Yes, you've got proper tiger and crane.
Yeah,
you've got Hangar, kind of proto Hangar coming on from Chen Quan Tai. It's great. Yeah, and they go through so many fucking Ching Zolias.
Oh yeah. Like knife through butter, right? It's great.
Yeah, there's like 40 versus 4 or something, isn't there?
Yeah. And weird, odd, I'm assuming in-house censorship in this scene as well, right?
Oh, with the red screen.
Yeah, whenever there's something a bit violent going on, someone gets stabbed, there's some eyes poked out, stab bins, the screen goes totally red, right?
Yeah.
Which is, it's fair enough, not a bad little effect. I don't have a problem with it. No, but I was curious if it was them kind of realizing that they would get into trouble, or if they were playing it safe, or if it's a stylish. I'm guessing it's probably the former, rather than a stylistic decision. But
yeah, I agree. Well, because actually, I mean, if we think about it, then this whole red screen, and funny enough, I was watching Men from the Monastery, which is part of the same cycle today, and there's probably 10 minutes at the end of that's black and white for the same reason.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah,
but I think back in the day when we were first watching these films, though, we were never.
Wow, artistic statement.
Yeah, or more than that. This bootleg so shit. Oh, yeah. The colour's gone out of it.
Yeah, the VHS is fucked up. Yeah. But it does actually coincide with the export market for Hong Kong films massively increasing post 72, 73.
Right.
So you can see the going back in context. So you can see the eyeballs in in King Boxer.
Yes.
Because that's one of the first films exported to the US.
Right.
But you can't see someone get their eye stabbed out in this.
Right.
Lee Hoi-sang gets his eyes poked out without any eyeballs and without any particular gore.
Yeah.
That's not in this red screen.
Right. And it's not as if Chang Cheh was averse to gore by a long shot.
No.
But, it's an interesting point. I never thought about that before. Maybe they did have one eye on the international market, which they wouldn't necessarily have thought was a market before.
Yeah.
Now they're thinking, because I'm sure Heroes 2 probably, it must have played Grindhouses, I'm guessing, in an English dub, but at some point.
Or but again, we may not even be talking about the Western market here. I mean, we're talking from Western perspective, but it could be that, Indonesia decided that
that's true.
There was too much gore, or Malaysia, or it could be anywhere, because the kung fu boom was worldwide.
Yes, yes, absolutely, yes. You're quite right to pick me up on that. That could be the thing. So, in conclusion, I very much enjoyed rewatching Heroes 2. It's not one of the classics for me, but it's a solid watch. Yes, I struggle to say much more about it, really. Like I said, I was kind of interested how it sent me down the rabbit hole of trying to kind of figure out. I mean, you don't need to know that stuff to enjoy this film, and in fact, it's even possible that the more you know about proper Chinese history and mythology, the film might annoy you more, right, because of what it does or doesn't do or leave out. So it could have the reverse effect. But one day I would like to get my head around all that, because for me, all that context just makes watching these films more interesting, right? Where, just because that's what it's, because I'm sure there's things it's alluding to. Like, for instance, even chaining Chen Quan Tai up in the dungeon. Now, on the one hand, that could just be an arbitrary thing that they decided to do for this film. But as far as we know, that might be like a really key, important episode in the saga of Hung Shi Quan. Which just totally bounced off us, which would also explain why it seems a bit of a kind of crap thing for the villains to do and they don't do anything with him.
True.
Maybe it's in the source. So
I think that's a really good point. I mean, all I've got to say, I mean, it's I see this kind of in a similar way as I see Deadly Duel, which we did the other podcast, in that solid middle ground film, excellent quality, good swashbuckler, good adventure film, but not much more to say about it. It's just good, solid fun. It's good, solid foo, good, dramatic elements. Fu Sheng looks great. Chen Quan Tai looks great. The one criticism I've got of it is I'm not quite buying the baddies. So, there's not a Wang Lung Wei in there. There's not a not a Lu Feng in there.
Yes.
Lu Feng in there.
They don't have like you compare the hero to the villain, like a stronger villain makes. Yeah, you're quite right. They don't have a Ku Feng. They don't have a Kam Kong, or they just have Chu Mu fella, and you've got Wong Chen being all ugly. And then
Wong Chen's always good, but he's always second fiddle.
Yeah, and he's not
so he's always kind of second, first henchman.
Yeah, he's not someone you have to overcome, right?
Yeah.
I suppose the nearest it comes is when the llamas turn up, but they're introduced a bit too late in the game to build up a head of steam. It's not like
they just dropped in there, aren't they?
Yeah,
really?
They mentioned early on that he was trained by llamas, and then you forget about it. So yes, no, I agree what you're saying. It doesn't fit the absolute classic kung fu end of level boss template, right?
No.
But I'd say it's also works as a pretty good entry point kung fu film. Because we mention this every now and again, because we are conscious of the fact that some people are still wanting to find an entry point, right? I'd say this is pretty good because, like you said, it works like an adventure film. It's not too long. It's a brief running time. It's a fairly absorbing story. The melodrama's there, but it's not too much. There's none of the really distracting kung fu comedy that puts people off sometimes.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And then at the end, they open up a can o whoopas, as you would say, Darren. And
yes. And decimate the opposition.
So it's like, that's a nice, fun little adventure. And then, bonus, a bunch of awesome kung fu at the end. So I'd say it's a pretty good.
Yeah.
If you want to get someone into something,
no, solid.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, let's say textbook. It's a textbook.
Yeah.
Shaw, early 70s Fu film.
Yeah. Not a classic, but
that's not a criticism.
Not at all. Like we said, embarrassment of riches, right? Embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So for the second half here, Darren, we have Shaolin Temple.
Oh, yes.
1976. And judging from the way you said, oh, yes, there, I'm guessing we might have had a similar experience with this one. A reinforcing of quite how great this film is. Would that be correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I adored this film.
Yes.
From the first time I've seen it. And it's a regular. There's a few Shaw Brothers films that I will always go back to and I'll watch every year or two. And this is one of them. Crippled Avengers is another one.
Right.
Which we're going to get onto next time, actually.
Yes.
You know, Jimmy Wang Yu's stuff gets in there, but this is one of my absolute go-to kung fu films. And I fucking love it. Always have. And this made me love it more, actually, watching it critically.
Well, it's interesting. You a little bit ahead of the curve on me with this one, because I think I've only ever seen this film once before, and I remember liking it, and I wrote up a very favorable review of it. But I think at the time I first saw it, it was at the time where I was seeing a lot of these things for the first time, a lot of Chang Cheh stuff, and again, the embarrassment of riches things. At a certain point, it just became, chuck that on the pile of great Chang Cheh films kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think before, I'd actually, and like you said, watching it critically for this now and focusing on it, really made me appreciate it in and of itself. And it certainly stands head and shoulders above most other productions of this time, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in every way.
I would go so far as to say, and I was thinking about this, is this hyperbole or not? And I've come to the conclusion there's not hyperbole. I would say that this film actually is worthy of inclusion. If you were to compile like a list of essential world cinema films to kind of inform you about what different countries around the world were doing at different times and at their best, at their peak. Thinking about it, Shaolin Temple is actually a classic, I think, of its type.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look at the talent in it. You know, is the first thing. You know, it's directed by Chang Cheh. Wu Ma's in there as co-director in the credits, but not assistant director, not co-director, is not jointly credited, which is interesting. We'll get into that in a minute.
That's right. I totally missed that. Carry on. I'm just going to look this up while you.
It's hidden in the credits. So in the Celestial version I watched, you've got, you know, at the end, the last credit is director Chang Cheh.
Yeah.
But then 2 or 3 frames back from that.
Ah, yes, you're quite right. Is the HKMDB
co-director Wu Ma.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah. And I think, to be fair, I mean, you know, Wu Ma's probably handling the comedy.
Right.
Because he's good at that.
I was just having a look here at Wu Ma's, what he was up to around the same time in terms of directing, and he would have, according to the Hong Kong Movie Database, co-directed Shaolin Avengers with Chang Cheh.
Yeah, again, which has got a decent amount of comedy in it.
Right. And Seven Man Army.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I've actually ever seen.
No, I haven't seen that.
Right. Okay. That's interesting because you don't tend to, even though he's in shitloads of their films and for some reason I don't tend to equate Wu Ma with Shaw.
No, he's more your Samo Five Lucky Stars kind of comedy persona, isn't he?
But he was there, right? Obviously, he's had a long career, right?
Yeah.
And actually a very, I think, underrated as a on the other side of the camera as well as a director, because some of his films are just fucking. Is it? Yeah. I'm going to double check this to see if it is.
He did Dead and the Deadly, didn't he?
Yes, and yeah, no, he's got some really interesting things on his filmography as director as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might need to do a Wu Ma special.
I think yes. There's a lot of spin-offs coming off.
Yeah, definitely.
So before we kind of dive in with what it is about this film, which is, I mean, the plot is kind of in some ways fairly complex and involved, but I'm not sure if we really want to go into that, because I think it'll just be a lot of wasted airtime unless there are specific things to mention.
Yeah, I think actually I think the plot is really simple.
Yes, in broad strokes. Yeah.
But if I were to look at my notes, because the way I write notes is I write the beats of the film down.
Yes.
And if I was to read out the beats of the film, then there's a fucking load. Of beats.
So shall I have a go at doing the broad strokes?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Right. So this is, very, very basically, you got. So in a way, this is a prequel to Heroes 2 in a way. In so much.
Actually, shall we before we go on this?
Okay.
Shall we just give a little bit of an overview of what Chang Cheh's Shaolin cycle is?
All right. Or you take the lead there then, because I haven't prepared.
Yeah.
I can follow.
No, that's fine. So Chang Cheh in, I think it's 74, releases, I think it's 5 films all around the burning of the Shaolin Temple and or the heroes that come from it. So that's Feng Shiyu, Hung Si Quan, Hu Hoi Gan, I think. There's a load of them anyway.
Right.
There's a load of them. And these are the people who escape from the Shaolin Temple and go and spread Shaolin martial arts throughout China. Eventually, some of them form the triad societies that become the organized crime syndicates, but also are, in origin, resistance cells against the invading forces.
Right.
So Chang Cheh starts releasing films in a very tight schedule. So it's kind of, 3 years at best, where you've got very, very, very similar films coming out. So that's 5 Shaolin Masters, Men from the Monastery, Shaolin Avengers, Shaolin Martial Arts. I'm sure I've missed one. Shaolin Temple is the last one. And there's possibly one I've forgotten in there. But they're all around. So the first films that come out are all usually around Hung Si Quan and Fong Sayuk and their adventures after they leave Shaolin, after they escape from Shaolin.
Right.
And form a resistance movement.
Yes.
Against the Qing invaders. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are really, really, really similar, to such an extent that, you've basically got refilmed scenes, not cut and paste, but actually refilmed, but with almost the same script. For example, in Shaolin Avengers or Men from Monastery or 5 Shaolin Masters, they're all kind of on a theme, but with almost the same script with slightly different emphasis.
Yeah.
And this comes right at the end of this.
I think Wang basically just took the script back and then shuffled like a deck of cards.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've written another one.
Yeah, exactly. But the difference is that when Chang Cheh started releasing these films, they were all about the exploits immediately post burning of Shaolin Temple.
Right.
So you only ever see Shaolin Temple in flashbacks.
Yeah.
Or the film would begin with the hero escaping the Shaolin Temple, exactly the same as Heroes 2. Heroes 2, that's the one I missed.
Yeah, we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. And Shaolin would be in the backdrop, and the new resistance movement would be in the foreground. But Shaolin Temple is, as you say, is the prequel. So that is the kind of, that is and this is how it started.
Right.
And it's a big fucking epic.
It is. Isn't it? It's 2 hours long for a start, which doesn't sound that long, but it's a good half hour on most of the other films that you mentioned, right? So you get the feeling that going into it, I get the feeling they wanted to tell the story for all time in a way. Like, they really wanted to go back to the roots and kind of, let's tell this story properly, because this is the lodestone, right? This is where it all comes from.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I mean, I'm wondering if it works. It works. It's a fucking great film. But actually thinking about it, if you really wanted to tell, the Shaolin Temple story, this is a slightly strange piecemeal way of going about it, in a way. It's a very episodic narrative, isn't it? Yeah,
but I think that's because what Chang Cheh is trying to do is he's trying to film the burning of the Shaolin Temple. So that's point one.
Yeah.
So this is the event that kicks off this proliferation of all these kung fu schools, that go right down into the 20th century.
Right.
But also he needs to be including all of the people.
Yeah, there's a lot
formed all of the lineages, all the heroes that died, all the martyrs.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's like an origin story as well, in a way, isn't it? So 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 I think it's, if you're talking in terms of the myth, then I guess it works. It's not necessarily the film to go to if you really want the history of the Shaolin Temple, right? Even if that was possible to tell, right? Because so much of this stuff has been lost to the ages. It might only be the mythology we have left anyway.
Yeah, it's a really nebulous thing. The Shaolin Temple is a really nebulous thing.
Yeah.
But we know it existed, and we know that it got burnt down.
Yes, and we know that there was a bunch of people who were really good at fighting, who came from there. Basically, yeah. And I think that's pretty much
bastards.
Yeah. And that is pretty much all we know, really, right? I mean,
Well, and you've got Wu Dan in there. Wu Dan, although it's not particularly mentioned in this film, you've got Wu Dan, you've got White Eyebrow Priest, you've got there's a few different things.
Yeah, I'm not actually even going to bother trying to list number one, because that would be very, very boring. Number two, we can just take it as read that almost all the main characters in this film are based on someone or other. And number three, to be honest, some of them I don't have a fucking clue who they are at all. And it would take you, longer research time that I'd had to prepare for this to actually do it justice. So I'd rather not make a hash job of it, right? And just kind of
same.
Basically take it for granted that these are all very famous. It's the Avengers assemble of kind of martial arts heroes, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's a really good analogy, actually, because every fucker's in this.
Yeah. That's
everyone is in this.
You know who's not in it, Darren?
Who's that?
Fung Hakon is not in this film.
I know. What the fuck is Fung Hakon not doing in this film?
Neither is YCHYFUS either.
Oh yeah, isn't he?
No,
he's not. He's not YCHYFUS, isn't it? Fucking hell. Well, again, we're going to get onto this later on, but this is why this is a transitional film in Shaw Brothers. I actually rate this as a very important film in Shaw Brothers history.
Absolutely.
You know, in terms of the changeover of teams.
Yes, and like we said, it is the proto-Venom film as well, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The tadpoles are here.
Yeah.
Or some of them.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the pond that the Venoms come from. Yeah.
Also, one thing I wanted, which surprised me slightly as well when I was looking it up, was I almost assumed, it's going to be choreographed by, it's going to be Chang Cheh, Lucia Lang.
Yeah, Chang Cheh, Lucia Lang.
Yeah. No, not at all. It's two names that don't...
By these fucking strangers.
Yeah. Interlopers.
Yeah, but they haven't done a lot else.
Well,
outside of this,
they didn't jump out at me, but so one is Xie maybe. Are we going with that?
Yes, Xie.
Yeah. Who did?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Who did direct The Bone Crunching Kid?
Yeah, which is excellent.
And
because that's Bruce Liang, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Bruce Liang.
I know I've seen it. Yeah. And a fucking title for a film as well.
Brilliant title for a film. Yeah.
And then Chen Xin-yi, who slightly less impressively directed The True Game of Death.
Yeah, shame about that.
But I mean, fucking hell, they do a hell of a job here, don't they?
Yeah, they're doing a great job. And again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But this, the choreography on this is it definitely has a handle on Lucia Lang's, kind of penchant for showing real martial arts.
Yes.
So they're definitely doing all the shapes, all the tiger and crane, all the, as far as we can tell, real styles. But there's a lot of acrobatics in here.
Yes.
There's a lot of Peking opera.
Yes.
Or possibly, actually, I would suggest Taiwanese opera.
Okay.
Which is where a lot of these people are coming from, particularly the Venoms people. And it's a much more kinetic, kind of acrobatic style of choreography.
It's cinematic as well, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
So very, very, very basically, the Shaolin Temple and the Shaolin Temple, the head monks are concerned, well, if we don't even though we're supposed to be this in a traditional exclusive kind of school, not everyone can join. Trouble is, if we don't have any new members, then the Shaolin Temple is going to die, right? Yeah. So they kind of put it out there that they will accept new students. And this, so people, including Fu Sheng as Feng Sayuk again, they turn up in front of the temple and kneel there for days and days and days and days to prove, their tenacity to train and to do hard work. And, they are eventually let in. Some people give up and they fuck off and they can't be bothered. They are not allowed to enter Shaolin. Also, you have a bunch of kind of soldiers, right? Ming soldiers back from battle, including David Chang, and they are also kind of they decide to go and hide out in the Shaolin Temple, despite the fact that this may bring government scrutiny onto the temple. So there's a lot of kind of politics going on as well, which is kind of quite interesting. Something you don't get in some of the other films, right? The other films seem to almost, apart from the Ming versus Qing thing, you don't get, it's very black and white, heroes and villains. You get a bit more, not too much, but you get a bit more of the complexity about what exactly that entailed or what it meant. And,
yeah, so there's a little bit of palace intrigue in here, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's interesting it's particularly interesting having the idea of the soldiers coming back from war, the veterans needing a place to go. That's kind of a very interesting little, almost contemporary kind of thing that you don't get in these films so much. Or you don't get much.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, you don't see people just rock up to Shaolin in armor because they're very clearly in armor.
Yeah,
you know, battle armor. Just walking in, and it's quite interesting because you know you've got these scenes at the start where you've got people like Fu Sheng and Bruce Tong and Cheng Quan Tai. Sorry, not Cheng Quan Tai. Chi Quan Chun, kneeling outside the temple for days and days and days.
One of us was bound to make that mistake at some point.
Oh yeah. That's bound to happen.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a scene and they make a deliberate point of these people in armor just knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And saying, can I come in, please? I used to study here. I know the monk.
Right.
And the other. And they say, yeah, come on in. And then I think it's Li Yimin. Li Yimin just walks up to the door and says, can I come in as well then? No, fuck off. Kneel outside. You're a layman, you know.
Yeah.
It's you don't see that.
No. And what's interesting about it as well is in a subtle way that they certainly don't over-egg the pudding on it, but it also points out that kind of weird, fascinating dynamic at the center of this, which is, I mean, you know, if you're going to a monastery, you're supposed to almost be giving up all worldly conceits, and you're supposed to be devoting yourself to, you know, rising to the next level or whatever. But at the same time, those skills that you would learn en route make you the perfect warrior, which, if it's necessary to fight for your country, that you're going to need. So that it's kind of an interesting dynamic in a way, isn't it? That these monks, really, they're supposed to be pacifists, right? They're not really dealing with the military yet. And plus, you could argue there's the whole thing you could argue it's a church and state issue as well, right? To a certain degree. So there's a lot of complexity.
But I think
it's quite interesting.
But there's a bit as well, isn't there? Is that there are conversations you're privy to the conversations between the abbots of Shaolin, you know, where they're saying, well, this is the end of Shaolin now.
Yeah.
Because Wudan have betrayed us. The Qing are at our doorsteps. We need to do something to preserve Shaolin, and you're privy to that conversation in this film, which is not often the case.
No, not at all. Not at all. You don't think of monks as bureaucrats usually, right? But clearly,
or diplomats.
It would have to be. Any institution has to have a certain amount of bureaucracy, right, for it to kind of survive on a day-to-day level, right? Which is very interesting.
Anyway, so
from there, I mean, basically, it's you follow a bunch of different characters on their training, and how that training relates to and as well. It's interesting that they're not all like model students, right? Some of them are incredibly impatient, and again, the monks, it's quite interesting to see how the monks decide how to deal with different students in a different way. Like some of them are just, he'll do what he's told, and I'll put his ankle weights and he'll jump up and down on that wooden board in the hall until he falls through it. And then he can fly, basically. But other people, they have to be a bit more tricky with.
Yeah. You've got to stir the cogni.
Yeah.
You know.
Konji.
For 3 years, I think he does that. Yeah, Konji, sorry. For 3 years.
Yeah.
And he literally does that for 3 years. Just stirs the fucking pot of soup.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, and then you've got Fu Sheng's character who gets really fucking pissed off with loading the firewood.
Right. Yes.
And then just one day after a year or so or whatever, his really sour-faced monk who's in charge of him just picks up a log and does the tiger style on it.
Yes.
And snaps the log. And then Fu Sheng realizes, oh yeah, shit, I'm learning tiger style.
Right.
And then he just then he learns tiger style.
Which is, I mean, it's interesting to see these things play out as well, because nowadays everyone's familiar, even people who aren't interested in Kung Fu, they're familiar with this concept through the great popularizer that was the Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
The whole wax on, wax off thing. But yeah, which is fair enough. I'm certainly, I don't have anything against the Karate Kid.
No. Well, that's how I learned that trope.
Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting to see where these things come from, right? And I'm imagining audiences who saw this for the first time. Well, it was like when we saw Karate Kid for the first time. I was like, oh fuck yeah, oh yeah, you stir that kanji, but actually at the same time you're learning muscle memory and yeah. So
let's give everyone the advert for this film, right? Or at least it's an advert for me.
Right. Okay.
Right. So if you are a Kung Fu film watcher, that likes a training montage, right, this film is approximately 80% training montage.
This is correct. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, this is the fucking motherlode as far as training scenes go.
And if you don't like training scenes, well, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Yeah, don't come here again.
No,
we banish you.
In our door with your
exactly
training scene loathing.
Yeah.
Because training scenes are. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Because the YCHYFUS podcast is the best around. Nothing's ever going to keep us down.
That's right.
We're the best around.
Yes.
That was a Karate Kid reference.
No, I got it. Yeah. No one's ever gonna. I've forgotten the lyrics. That's all.
I'm not sure I got them right, but I feel I cheapened myself a bit with that. Actually,
I'm keeping it.
I feel a bit dirty after saying that, but
Oh well, never mind. You've had a few, so it's.
Well, I've had 2 or 3 beers. So that's fine. Yes. Yeah. See, this is the difference. My inhibitions have gone.
Right. Well, at least you're drinking at a reasonable hour. Inspired by you, I'm drinking myself, and it's not even noon here. So
no. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. So Clive may go off piste shortly.
Yes, and I'll have
you never know
after this. Right.
Yeah,
so
anyway,
so training scenes ahoy. And also, there's a spy. There's a spy in the Shaolin Mist. And spoilers, it's Shan Mao. But, it's Shan Mao. Of course, it's fucking Shan Mao. As soon as he's on screen,
of course it is.
He's the...
Well, it's not like... It's not like, because for a lot of the time, he's wearing a mask and he's like all wrapped up in linen. And it's obvious it's him. Because he's got these eyes.
Yes,
that's him. That's There's no question whatsoever.
The only red herring they could have done was because Wong Ching's in this film as well. If they'd have introduced Wong Ching before Shan Mao, then you might think, "Oh, is it?" But you've already seen Shan Mao at that point. And if it's Shan Mao or Wong Ching, obviously Shan Mao is going to be the spy, and Wong Ching is going to be the obsequious lackey, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, so there's that going on as well, and yes, and then there's a whole thing. So basically, also they, Feng Sayuk and Fu Sheng and other characters, they're there with a specific goal of learning martial arts because they have to take revenge, right? For certain things. So then you also get into that movement, which is another. I mean, I'm sure you're the same with me as here, Darren. Absolutely weak for is the running the gauntlet to leave the Shaolin.
Oh, Shaolin wooden men.
Yeah.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking.
There's no bronze men, but it's a testament to how fine this film is that you don't miss them.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
The wooden men. You've also got some of the booby traps as well, like these strange big blades that come out the wall.
Yeah.
And barrels on chains and
yeah,
and it all
so you've got these.
Yeah, go on.
No, so you've got these like proto Indiana Jones moments as well. Not that Indiana Jones was influenced by this at all. But you've got booby traps,
right?
So you've got like as in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, you've got he's got to go through a tunnel and there's all sorts of traps that he has to overcome.
Yeah,
you've got this. You've got the Shaolin wooden men.
Yes.
In this as well, that whirl around and shoot darts and.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out the Shaolin. Yeah, like you said, they're not stationary ones, right? They spin, and they're quite vicious. Look, because you don't normally think of a Shaolin wooden man as threatening, but they are here. You can imagine trying to work your way through a maze of them. You would quite easily get battered to death if you didn't know what you were doing.
Oh, absolutely, because they whiz around. Yeah. And I've seen other, in other films, in other kung fu films, they're literally like men, like scarecrows made out of wood,
right?
Who just kind of wiggle around and spin a bit, and but these are really, really threatening. Because they're basically like, it's like a video game, really, isn't it? It's like, It's like a side-scrolling video game where you have to pick when to jump when there are spinning blades or whatever,
Yeah.
And that's what Fu Sheng has to go through to get out to take revenge on his father, I think.
Yeah.
On his father's killers.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's so much going on that it's almost fruitless to actually try and list it all and how it all figures out, and and then
I think all we can do is kind of pick out the highlights of what we enjoyed.
But what I was going to say was, it's an interesting structure as well, because for 90 minutes of 2-hour running time, it's utterly absorbing. I don't even know what genre you'd put it in. It's like you said, it's an epic. And there are all these characters, and it's not difficult to follow. It's not confusing, even though they are so. I mean, you're just getting thumbnail sketches rather than anything too deep. I don't think any of these heroes are getting their story told for all time, right? It's not about that. It's more about, let's introduce you to this place in time where it was the forge, right, for all of these things.
Yeah,
it does a great job of that. And you follow it, and it's absorbing, and there's a few little, there's plenty of training scenes, like you said, there's some fights here and there, and it's a totally absorbing, fantastically interesting, inventive adventure, and you're learning a little bit of kind of history and stuff, and you've also got the politics and to thicken it, so it feels like a proper film, and you're thinking that's enough, that's fine, and then final 25-30 minutes, fucking hell, it's just
carnage.
Wall to wall fucking. I mean, you've never seen so many noble deaths and sacrifice in one place, right? It's bong one after another, and each one makes you feel like, God damn, that was a noble way to go.
But you've also got just desserts as well.
Yeah.
It's like, you've got Wang Lung Wei in this, right? Johnny Wang Lung Wei, right? Who is top tier bad guy. Like, if I had to write a list, I'm not writing a list, but if I had to write a list, he's like number 1 or number 2 on my top bad guy actors.
Darren, you're writing a list, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to write a list. But anyway. So you've got Wang Lung Wei, who's a fucking asshole. And he's one of these soldiers who comes in with David Chiang and T Lung. And he's one of these heroes who are apparently on, the good side. And he takes a dislike. Exactly. And he's a total asshole. And he takes a dislike to Fu Sheng, and he keeps kicking the shit out of him. And then eventually Fu Sheng kicks the shit out of Wang Lung Wei. And they have this fucking amazing duel. Between T Lung and Wang Lung Wei up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
And it's not even like a proper flight of stairs. It's like a loft, temporary loft stairs, that folds out. And it's all, and eventually, David Chang fucking impales him with his chain whip.
Yeah. There's that, and that's just one.
But that's one of these little moments.
We were saying the embarrassment of riches thing, and this is certainly that. I mean, it's exhausting, but in a good way. But it's fucking exhausting by the time you actually get to the end. Yeah. And you're thinking, if you really wanted to, you could just watch this final 30 minutes over and over again, slow it down, rewind. There's so much going on. It's remarkable that they just threw all this in right at the and not in a chaotic way either. It's all just, it's perfectly realized and orchestrated, and it peaks and it troughs and it plays brilliantly, and not even in that way where sometimes you have to kill your darlings and this is the best thing and it makes the rest of the film look poor in comparison. No. It all, even though there's a definite shift, when you move into the action, you're like, oh, hang on, we've changed gears. But it's not a kind of grinding gear change, right? It perfectly works as a piece as well.
Yeah.
It's such a well orchestrated, the final 30 minutes in themselves, but also the way that it's integrated and on to the end of the other 90 minutes, the way that it plays. That's why I think this should be on those lists of world cinema classics, because I can't find fault with it.
No, I think as well, if you look at, well, not even later or earlier films, but in general, your kung fu film format is, you've got one or two, with Chang Cheh, sometimes there's 3 or 4. Heroes who each have an arc, who each have a mission, who have a backstory.
Yeah.
And over an hour and a half, they sort their shit out, they get their vengeance, or, they martyr themselves, or, they all sort their shit out over an hour and a half in a confined space. Right. Well, in this film, I just counted down my cast list that I wrote out, which is a fraction of who's actually in the film.
Right.
But I count 10 separate characters with separate arcs.
Yeah.
With
confusing, right?
No, and each character is distinct, so you never confuse Li Yimin with Fu Sheng, even though they're very similar characters and they're doing very similar jobs.
Yeah.
And they're punished for, they're the same sort of character. They're both hotheads, and they both get punished for, being hotheads and have to do the menial stuff.
Right.
Each character is completely distinct.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you witness their training arc, and then their training arc pays off, and they kill, a valuable, top tier villain, at the end. And sometimes they die and sometimes they don't, But, this film takes the time to follow these people from novice to master, to warrior, to hero, sometimes to martyr as well.
Yes.
And in 2 hours, we were talking about, you made the comparison to Avengers Assemble, right? The Marvel films. Right. Well, the Marvel films took something like 10 years to get to this point.
Right.
This took a maximum of 2 or 3 years. Right. To establish characters. And this film establishes characters in one film. You can view this film completely independently of Chinese history, Chinese mythology, and it's just dude rocks up to Shaolin Temple, with or without the history that we do or do not know about.
Yeah,
has a whole arc, either a training arc or an emotional arc throughout the film, and it all pays off.
Yeah.
So every single character you're introduced to pays off.
Going back to Johnny Wang Lung Wei as well. It's kind of an odd. It's an odd one for him as well, because like you, he would be on my list of great kung fu villains. But in this, he's not that, though, is it? It's a bit of an outlier of him. He's not a proper, like, formidable villain. He's, like you said, he's more of he's a twat who can fight. And he doesn't look as intimidating in this film as he does in other films. Because Johnny Wang Wei's a fairly kind of rotund fellow, right? But in other films, that looks more like a solid wall or something. In this, this looks like a bit of a fatty.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I think he's got a decent arc in this. I think that.
Oh no, it's good. But I'm just saying it's different from how it was.
He's usually fully formed, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's usually a fully formed bad guy who's already invincible.
Exactly. That's what I mean. He arrives in it. Oh fuck, it's that guy. Whereas here, I suppose it's the origin story of the uber villain, maybe. You know, like when he was the uber villain, when he was still making mistakes and he was still a bit self-conscious or.
But Wang Lung Wei only comes on the scene in this cycle anyway. So he's, his first film, I think, is Shaolin, 5 Shaolin Masters. So he's only been about 2 years by this point.
Which again is Shaolin, even though, like we said, Shaolin Temple could be considered the prequel to Heroes 2 because of the Fu Sheng Fong Sayuk connection. It's apparently the official prequel to 5 Shaolin Masters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is actually a film I've not seen. 5 Shaolin Masters.
I've seen it. I meant to see it before I watched this. I've seen it before, but it's not for 15 years probably.
I need to get on that because, especially to compare it to this, I'm kind of very keen because sometimes a lot of these films, kind of whether you've seen them or not, as you were mentioning, they blend together slightly, especially if they have generic titles like 5 Shaolin Masters. Shaolin Heroes or but now that I have Shaolin Temple so solidified as an entity unto itself almost, I'm keen to see 5 Shaolin Masters to see if it's if they actually match up or now it's dead, Darren. I can't hear you because you did something to your mic there.
I did. Hang on. Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes.
Thank you. Good. My apologies. I knocked my mic over.
Yes, I saw you do that. It's just quite...
I agree with you. And I wish I'd seen 5 Shaolin Masters as well before seeing this. However, I do think, I genuinely do think that Shaolin Temple is the perfection.
Oh yeah.
The previous films. This is what the other films were trying to be, and
I certainly don't expect 5 Shaolin Masters to. Or let's put it this way: I would be amazed if it stacked up as well as. I'm sure it's a perfectly good film, but so it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think we've ever discussed this between us in the past, but. It's interesting that we've both reached the same conclusion independently while sitting down to do this for the show. I know you said you liked it before and everything, but it seems as if it's even gone up even more. Like, and it certainly did in my. It's raised from another very, very good Chang Cheh film. It's raised, isn't it? It's gone up into it's new. It's a proper fucking classic.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, and it's it's partly that's from convenience. So, if you need to see a Shaw Brothers film, right, that's got the best of Fu Sheng, the best of Chi Quan Chun, the best of David Chang, Ti Lung. Arguably, it's not their best, but they're good at it. And you want to see some fucking Venoms as well, because Chang Sheng's in it, Kuo Chui's in it, Lo Mang's in it. Then it's like a catch-all film, isn't it? It's like a catch-all Shaw Brothers film because it's got the Chang Cheh ethos. You know, it's got the Chang Cheh brotherhood shit going on.
Right.
It's got fucking wall-to-wall training scenes. You know, all and I know Li Chelang and Tang Chia aren't involved, but it's exactly the sort of thing that Li Chelang is doing later on in 36 Chambers of Shaolin and 8 Grand Pole Fighters.
Right.
It's exactly that stuff.
It is odd, isn't it? You really would expect them to be the choreographers if you didn't know any better, but it's just...
Yeah, well, I was up until the other night when I watched it, I was convinced it was Tang Chia and Li
If you asked me, I would have said, "Oh yeah, that's the giant."
Yeah.
While we're at it, listing, so we've got also Frankie Wei Hung, Yue Hua, Wang Chung, Tony Liu. We forgot to mention Ku Feng.
Yeah,
and Lu Feng. Can't read my writing. Bruce Tong, Philip Kwok, Chang Sheng, the ugly Wong Ching, as mentioned. Shizu.
Zhu.
Shum Lo, Chang Nan, but no Fung Hakon.
No Fung Hakon.
And no Husasya either.
No Husasya.
And also worth mentioning as well, I mean, you take it for granted, but in this film in particular, I really impressed the sets. The sets.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. They
have all those...
And they're really setting fire to something at the end as well.
Yeah. And at the end, at the beginning, when they have you have the close-ups of those like ancient statues in there and stuff like that, it all looks, you know, fairly kind of authentic. And
yeah, it really does, because it's like they're like warped statues.
Yeah.
They're just like Buddha statues. They're like warped statues of ancient monks or whatever, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and of course the Shaolin Temple burns down at the end, and the surviving heroes escape. So that's your link, right? So you come full circle, and So I could gush for hours more, really, about how great this film is, and I think more than anything else, I'm surprised that I didn't. I don't know. Sometimes I guess you have to see something several times before you, and you have to have context, and you have to know more about something before something really pops out.
Yeah.
Right? But I was just amazed that in the past, even though I've always really liked this film, I'm amazed that this was the first time for me that it really established itself as. And I've heard other people say it as well. You know, people have said, "Oh yeah, Shaolin Temple is one of Chang Cheh's classics," and I never quite passed it all out and identified it before, but now it's really, really hit home. This really is quite special, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
sorry, and I was just going to say, even though that all sounds very highfalutin, it also serves as a fantastic entry point as well, I would say, because it's got all the adventure, and like you said, it's got all that stuff apart from the Fu. So I can imagine almost anyone sitting down with this and getting absorbed in it, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, because it's wall to wall training scenes, it's wall to wall brotherhood. There's not complicated intrigue in it. You know, it's literally people rocking up Shaolin Temple, training. All of a sudden, they're invaders. They kick the shit out of each other.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful to watch. It's just fucking, you know, and the amount of characters you've got in here.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I mean, it's like whoever the fuck directed The Karate Kid took 2 hours to get arsehole Daniel LaRusso up to fucking kicking someone's face. Oh, okay. Right. He took all that time. Well, Chang Cheh can do that with fucking 10 shit hot fucking Chinese martial artists and make you care about them. You know, and some of them die and some of them don't. But, you know, in 2 hours, that's not fucking bad. And
it works like that, but like all really truly great classics as well, I think, is if you want more, it's there as well. So it'll work as an end. But if you're even really into this stuff, watch it again. Watch it again. Watch it again.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there, right? There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Plus,
actually,
no, I was just going to say, if you love Shaw Brothers, but you hate Fung Hakon and Husasya, this is the film for you as well, right? So if there's someone who fits that niche, I love these films. I fucking hate that Fung Hakon. As soon as he's on screen, I
don't think there are people like that, Clive.
No, I don't want to meet them if there are.
No, and they're not welcome on this podcast.
They can fuck off.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a 2 hour. For me, it's just a 2 hour fucking smorgasbord of A, Chang Cheh at his finest. B, actually, most of these actors, more or less at their finest. I mean, Fu Sheng is fucking excellent in it.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way: no one lets the side down.
No, I mean, T Lung and David Chang haven't got much to do.
No, to be fair,
and they're big fucking stars.
Yeah,
and fair play to them for showing up. To be fair,
exactly. Yeah.
But you've got new people coming in on this, and this is the thing we were saying about transition.
Yes.
So, you've got people like Lee Min, right? Lee Min wasn't at Shaw Brothers for 5 minutes, but he really makes an impression, with his pot stirring,
right.
SHAOLIN, because Lee Min is all, his mystery of chess boxing and
right.
All the Joseph Kor stuff and the
all stuff
Taiwanese stuff.
All stuff we'll get to in good time.
Oh, we're gonna get to Lee Min. Yeah. But also you've got, like I was saying before, you've got this kind of slightly more kinetic, kind of acrobatic,
right,
almost Taiwanese opera style going on.
Right.
For me, this is, as well as being a fucking kick-ass film, this to me is kind of the fulcrum, which turns from Yu Cha-lang, from Yu Cha-lang heroic films to your Venom's also very heroic films, but into a new wave of action choreography of Chang Cheh moving things forward to big teams, big 6-7 person teams like the Venoms.
Yeah.
Into a new era that we're going to get into next month.
Next time. Yeah. Bye.